So this was an interesting week in AI and a bunch of different updates went on this week. One of the most interesting updates that came out this week was from an Indian company called Ola, and I'm actually very impressed with this. They created a scooter that's completely autonomous and auto balances. So let me show you this video. So you can see this video. A couple of months back they launched this electric scooter, and based on what I know, it did receive a lot of sales and a lot of people were excited for this because one of the goals that India has over the next decade is to go majorly electric, and the company is launching these types of scooters on and off. If you have lived in India in any capacity, you would notice that India is a huge fan of scooters. So having an electric scooter or being in an electric scooter market right now is a good place to be, and add to that an electric scooter, it's a very, very interesting space for a lot of companies right now. And they launched this Ola Solo. Now I don't know what the real use case is, because end of the day you would still sit on the scooter and you don't expect the scooter to drive you somewhere, just like you would expect in a car, because car does offer benefits when it comes to, say, putting more customers as passengers and earning money off of it. I don't know what the real use case with scooters is. If you remove the seat, then probably the use case would be around, say, deliveries and stuff like that, right? But with seats, it still suits people driving the scooter. I mean, there could be use cases where you want to, say, auto balance the scooter when the user is a part of the accident or something goes wrong, but I honestly don't know what the real use case is here. Either ways, it's very impressive. So let me play this.
First ever autonomous, I mean, autonomous braking. Name you forget that.
So this is the same company that launched something called Krutim, which is AI's own chatbot, a few weeks back. And now the funny part is that the roads here in India are very different than roads out there. And the way people drive here is also very different than people drive outside of India. So again, autonomous here is going to be a real challenge, especially if this is something that they plan to introduce in India. Anywho, so this is something that I wanted to talk about because while the use case is not clear, this is still very interesting. And like I said, they also have their own chatbot called Krutim, which in the at least the reviews I've read is not that impressive. Either way, something I wanted to talk about for this week. The second thing that I want to talk about is Claude, and not just the jailbreak method, which is very interesting. So apparently the researchers at Anthropic figured out a way to jailbreak the model. So typically when you're using AI models and you say something like, hey, I want to hijack a car or build a bomb, right? It's going to just tell you it can't do it. But if you do this again and again and again and again, you can see this researcher asked a bunch of different questions with the answers. And then when you ask the model how to build a bomb, it's going to tell you, right? So in a few shot, it won't be able to tell you, but in many shot, it will be able to jailbreak and give you answers that typically models wouldn't. Now, while they are working on it, I think it has something to do with the context window, where the model will look for bad things to avoid in the first few shots. But if you have a bunch of different results with specific answers to that result, the model is just going to follow the format and give the answer. But research is underway. This can be used for things that are not correct, and especially models like Claude 3, which are extremely impressive. So I've been using Claude for some time now. You can see these are all the chats. Trust me, I've used Claude more now than I combined used GPT over the past few months, because it's just doing really, really well. Especially the quality of answers when it comes to code, even blogging, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And kind of GPT-4, honestly, in the words of Sam Altman, at least after using Claude, kind of sucks, right? And I'm waiting for GPT-5, but at least where Claude is right now, I'm very happy with it. Even if GPT-5 is not released, I still think Claude is actually what GPT-5 will potentially be in the future. It's in fact as good as the first version of GPT-4 that was launched a few months back and then downgraded over the year to kind of use how it is right now. The next update is on Stargate. So apparently OpenAI and Microsoft are planning to build an $100 billion data center in the US. Now, this is 100 times more expensive than some of the data centers that exist today. So this is extremely expensive and will hold specialized AI chips for AI-based processing, right? Similar to what you saw with NVIDIA's Blackwell architecture. So it's probably going to be a very, very interesting future for NVIDIA. But at the same time, if you would notice, OpenAI raised money in order to build these specialized AI chips for themselves. And it's possible that they may be competing with NVIDIA to some extent. There's also a small company called Grok that is competing with a Q, by the way, that is competing with for specialized AI chips. And they are one of the first ones who launched it. And if you tried their generations, it's insanely fast, 300 tokens per second on open source models, right? So again, future is not with the companies that build AI tools, but rather with companies that are facilitating these AI tools. And I think that's where that's where Grok or OpenAI and all of these companies are heading right now. The next thing I want to talk about is DALL-E's image editing feature, where effectively now you can select certain areas of the image and edit those areas from the image, right? So you can see this person has now generated two images. It's going to, select. So there's an option to edit the image. So once you click on the image, you can select the option here on the top that says select. And then here you can actually select specific areas. This is also called inpainting. And then you can add the prompt in order to tell the model what you want to generate there. And you can see it takes a couple of seconds and a new image is generated with the bow tie. Now, I tried this hands-on and honestly, like this is the video that went live some time back. The editing isn't mind-blowing or outside this world. It's very, very basic. But the other day, my wife was trying out the feature itself and she did something very interesting, right? So she took this photo of a scented candle and she generated an image and then she went on and edited the image to add brand names and stuff like that, which I didn't think was possible. And you can actually click on the image, and she also fed some more samples and then kept generating the image until she reached a point where she was happy with the image, right? So I think this was the last image that she generated. So very interesting feature, especially if you look at the text, right? So you can actually select the text, highlight the text, and then make corrections in the text. You can change brand names and stuff like that. So very interesting use case, at least if you know how to use it really well. I've explored all that it can do in the video that I've shared. So if you want to know what you can do, go ahead and check that video out. So the next thing I want to talk about is the RealM, which is an LLM from Apple that is almost as good as GPT-4. And it's going to be on device. So it's a smaller version of model, but it's almost as good as GPT-4. Now, we don't have a lot of information here, but you can see there are a bunch of different ads here. And that's why I hate reading news these days, because when you open this, it's almost like you see more ads than you see content, right? So it's very, very annoying. Anywho, so there's something going on in here, and WWDC 24 is also announced in June. So probably there's going to be a lot of AI going on in the event. Finally, I want to talk about the graph that you see on the screen here. So this was created by AI Breakfast. I don't know if it was created by them, at least they shared this, which seems it was created by this company Firstmark. Anyway, so this kind of maps everything that is happening in AI at this point of time. So there is infrastructure, analytics, machine learning, and AI applications, horizontal applications, and then industry, open source infrastructure, data source area. So this is a very elaborate list, and we've reached this point only in the 1.5 years or so. This was a very small graph the last I saw it. So there was this one section that had all of this. But if you look at it now, it's grown insanely and just gotten started. It's even hard to see. I'm going to be putting a link to this in the description, but this is a very, very elaborate image of the AI landscape. The other thing that I also want to talk about this week is that I tried Devika AI Software Engineer, which basically allows you to generate code autonomously. And honestly, in what I think is it's not that good. Like it does a couple of things like writing code from Python, but that's something that all the models can today do anyways. It is not independently debugging code or building code from scratch, just like a lot of these agents promise to do at this point of time. Either ways, you can check this out. The entire tutorial is here. I personally think that some of the agents like Devin, so I saw a demo video of Devin the other day where Devin was actually writing a research paper from scratch. So it's a more general agent than just code writing agent, and it will ideally be good for use cases where you want to do content writing and not code, because code is way more complex because it requires you to see what's going on in the UI, make those changes, relevant changes in the code, and then also reiterate based on what was changed in the code. So honestly, I think while it's interesting, the use case is interesting, right now we're not there when it comes to these AI agents, especially for code or even autonomously writing all of this code. The other thing that I explored this week was Gemini's AI Studio capability. I've been against Gemini in one way or the other for the last year or so, primarily because Google is a huge company in the world and especially in the AI space, and they should probably have made a good headway in AI at this point of time, but they are still struggling to beat even the smallest of companies that came after them. So I've kind of been on the opposition for them, but when I tried out the AI Studio in Gemini, and looked at the video editing capabilities or video analysis capabilities of Gemini 1.5 Pro model. It has 1.5 million context window, which is huge, and it can analyze long form videos even if they don't have the audio, right? So after looking at that, I'm all in for it. And I see what they're doing. They're actually looking at use cases that not other companies are focusing on right now. So use cases like nano models, use cases like video analysis, and so on and so forth, which is something that a lot of other companies are not focusing. So they're building their own space. And honestly, I'm impressed with what they're doing in that day. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, go ahead and check this out as well. And I think mostly that I also explored Tasking AI, which is an AI agent framework that allows you to build AI agents without any code. So it's very, very good based on what I tried. I'd recommend going ahead and trying it out if you are into agents or if you've been building agents for some time now. But that's all I want to talk about through the video, guys. I think this was relatively slower for me as an AI week compared to what I've been seeing over the past few weeks. But if you think I missed something out, let me know in the comments. And I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you so much.